Welcome back. Let's spend a few minutes thinking about producer surplus and how a change in price could affect producer surplus. Specifically, we're going to think about an increase in price. So let's start out by just refreshing our memory. What is producer surplus? So producer surplus is equal to the price that a product is sold for, so the price minus the cost to produce it, minus the cost. So what is the price minus the cost? Well, this is just the seller's smile factor. All right, so this is the seller's smile factor. How happy are they to have sold that item? So if we want to think about a change in price, we should probably start out by just setting up a supply curve, and then we can look at how a change in price affects the producer surplus. So if we set one of these up, so we've got quantity, we've got price, and we've got an upward sloping supply curve. So now let's just go ahead and put in a price and we'll start working from there. So let's call it P naught. We've got some price and a quantity that goes with it. We'll call it Q naught. And now let's suppose that this is an item that becomes popular. So maybe this is a pair of shoes that become popular after they're worn in a basketball game or something. Or maybe a pair of shoes that show up in a television show and they become the popular thing. So what happens in that case? Well, when they become popular and the demand for them increases, that's going to push up price. So what happens to producer surplus if price increases? So what happens if price increases? So at that higher price, obviously more are going to be sold. This has become popular and more are sold. So it looks like producer surplus that was this sort of lower triangle now becomes this larger triangle. It looks like producer surplus is increasing. But let's see if we can think about why. So to do that, we're going to take this quantity line and let's just go ahead and extend it up. So we'll extend it up to the new price. All we're doing is just delineating some areas so that we can talk about them. So let's call this lower triangle in the lower left, let's call that area A. Let's call the rectangle up above it area B. And let's call the triangle to the right of B, let's call that area C. So if we think about producer surplus at that initial price, at P naught, what is it? It's just area A. Then price increases, so we've got producer surplus at P2. Well, what is that equal to? Well, it's equal to area A plus area B plus area C. So we can clearly see that producer surplus is increasing when prices are higher. You're probably rolling your eyes. You're thinking, geez, this is so obvious. Of course producers are happy when price increases. Yep, that's true. But why? Right? What drives that happiness, that extra smile factor? So they had A in both cases. It's this B and C. That's our increase in producer surplus. Right? So this is our increase in producer surplus. So what are areas B and C? So if we think about area B first, what is it? Well, it's the increase in price, this vertical distance between P naught and P2. And how wide is it? What's our horizontal distance? Oh, that's the original quantity. So this is the increase in price on the original quantity. So what is B? This is the additional producer surplus. So our additional producer surplus for the items or units that would have been sold at Q naught, right? For the items sold P naught, which is quantity Q naught, right? Additional producer surplus for the items sold at P naught. What is that? That's our quantity Q naught. So this is the additional smile factor for these original units because now they're selling at a higher price. Think about it this way. If you're the shoe store and you've got shoes on the shelf and they become popular, you were expecting to sell those shoes for $100 and you end up selling them for $120. That additional smile factor from the extra $20 you sold those shoes for, that's area B. All right, so what's area C then? So C is the smile factor from the additional units that were sold. This is being able to sell even more shoes now because now you can sell them at $120 instead of just $100. So you sell some additional units. Before, if they were priced at $110, you wouldn't have sold them at $100, right? But now that shoes are selling for $120, sweet, we can sell those pairs of shoes. That's this area C, right? So area C is the additional, so it's our additional producer surplus from the increase in the quantity sold. Right, what is that increase in quantity sold? Well, it's our Q2 minus Q naught. The additional quantity sold because demand has increased, prices increased. So now we're getting surplus from this rectangle C. So what happens when prices increase to producer surplus? Obviously, producer surplus is going to increase, but importantly, why? Because producers are getting more surplus for the units they would have sold at the lower price, and they're getting additional surplus from the additional units that they sold. Hopefully you've got a feel now for why producer surplus increases when the price increases, and we'll say thank you, and we'll see you next time.